There is so many things to love about .NET Aspire for building distributed applications. Previously, I showed you how to add .NET Aspire to any existing .NET API or .NET frontend and have them talk together with service discovery. But one of the more powerful features is adding additional capabilities through components when you're using .NET Aspire. These are things such as messaging, databases, caching, and so much more. Today, I'm going to show you from start to finish and how to add .NET Aspire components into your Aspire applications. So let's get into it. Hey everyone, I'm James and I'm back with another .NET Aspire video, this time talking about adding components into your applications. So let's get into it. Okay, so previously I showed you how to add .NET Aspire into your existing APIs and front ends built with .NET. Now what's really cool here is that this is my app host or my startup project, and I have my products backend and my store front end, and the front end is referencing the backend. And they're both using this service defaults here, which has a bunch of capabilities such as open telemetry, health checks, the service discovery, and so much more. So here, for example, where I have my front end, we can see that it is adding this configuration for product endpoints. And if we look in the app settings, we can see that I'm using HTTP products, for example. And this products is coming specifically from the app host in my .NET Aspire distributed application. And through service discovery, it knows automatically how to talk to each other. So if I go ahead and run this here, what we're going to see is that our app host starts up, which is great. And then it starts our distributed application. And we can see I have my products and my store running here. If I take a look at my product backend, we get our API that's getting hit here. And then my front end, if I run that, is my Blazor front end. And this application is calling that backend automatically, which is rad. All right, cool. So now that we have that, we probably want to actually do more with it. If we take a look at our backend over here in our program file, it's also using that service defaults, and it's also using specifically a SQLite database. So if I'm in production, I'm probably not going to use a SQLite database. You may, but we may want to use something like a SQL database or a Postgres database, for example. So the first thing that we want to do is start to configure our app host and then integrate those different components into our actual applications. So here I'm going to say add and then .NET Aspire package. And these packages are components for our hosting projects and additionally for our client projects as well. So in this one, let's go ahead and add two of them. The first one I'm going to add is a Redis, so we can add caching support into our backend or our front end. I'm just going to go ahead and install that. Awesome. And go ahead and accept that. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add the Postgres support here for .NET Aspire. So I'm going to run that. Rad. So up here we can see that the owner is Aspire and the tag is hosting. And we'll talk about the components in the client projects here in a second. So if I tapped on this NuGet here, this would bring this up automatically, and I could take a look at the Aspire owner, and I could look at all the different packages that are on here. Additionally, inside of the documentation, you're going to find tons of information about service discovery and also .NET Aspire components. This is going to walk you through all of the different components that are compatible with .NET Aspire, but there's tons more out there from the community as well. So definitely take a look at this if you're really interested in browsing through it. Okay, cool. So we have all of our app host backends set up here. And now what we're going to do is start adding some different items. So let's first start with the database into our server application for our API. So first I'm going to say var db. I'm going to say builder.add Postgres here. And I added that in there. I'm just going to give it a name. So I'll say db. And we can also add a pgAdmin, so we can take a look at that, which would be nice. Now from here, we could say var products db. And I can say db dot. And then I can say add database. So we can add a bunch of databases in here. So let's just give this the same name of products DB. There we go, perfect. And if we had more databases, we could just add more databases in here. So the first thing we're gonna do is our products backend here is gonna need a reference of this database. So that way our backend API can talk to that Postgres database automatically for us. So I'm gonna say with, and then I'm gonna say reference, and I'm gonna add in my products DB there. Awesome, there we go. So here, this is going to add it automatically, and it'll know how to talk to the database because these are all referenced together, right? This is being chained from our database automatically. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to integrate our products in. Now, if you took a look over here, we actually have a data context. I'm using Entity Framework over here, and we just have our product data context already set up for us, which is pretty awesome. And that's how the endpoint is being called. So it's passing in that data context and getting all the products and returning them there. So I said today, this is using a simple SQLite database. Let's go ahead and delete that. And let's go into our app settings, and we can also delete that context there. We don't need that anymore. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add another package or component for .NET Aspire. So I'm going to say add .NET Aspire package. And here now the tag is component. So instead of hosting, it is component. If I want, I'm going to say Postgres on here. There we go. And we can see that there's two. There's adding just a simple Postgres default client. So if you're not using Entity Framework, you would use that one. If you are using Entity Framework Core, here this is our provider. So I'm just going to say install, and that's going to give me everything I need, which is rad. And note here that it also gives me health checks as well, and it'll give me open telemetry all set up automatically, which is really, really nice. Cool. All right, so that has been added. So now if I go into my program, I can come back into our actual builder that we're using SQLite, and I can say builder dot, and now we'll see a new extension here, which is our PostgresSQL DB context. And here, this is going to be our product data context that you already have set up in your application. And all I need to do is give it a simple string, which is the database. So here, this products DB is correlating specifically inside of our products DB here. So it's going to look for those connections automatically. Now, you can follow through the documentation, and this is pretty much just configuring all of the connection strings for us automatically. So we don't need to sort of worry about any of that, but you can always override that if you want to as well. All right, awesome. That's all I need to do. So now I can just run the application. And here we go. We're going to get our app startup automatically configured here. And now it's going to not only start up our dashboard over here, it's going to now start our container, which is our database, our pgAdmin, and we also get our products DB. So now if I go ahead and tap on that product API, we're going to see we get all of our products coming back right here. So the same exact products. If I go over here and tap on the home page, this is now calling into that same backend. And if I tap on that pgAdmin, this is going to be our Postgres admin here, which should take a few seconds to load up. And if it doesn't, just give it a few seconds here to refresh. There we go. And our pgAdmin is now loaded. And what we can now do is go into our Aspire instance, look at our databases that are here. We have two databases, and here's our products DB. And if we go in deeper into this, into our schemas, we're going to see that we have our table here, and this is our product table. And we can look at all of our columns, and that was automatically created for us. I have a little simple, very, very, very simple script in here, which is creates the database if it doesn't exist here. So it just simply gets the data context, ensures it's created, and then initializes it with a little bit of this dummy data coming in. So now all these things are existing inside of the database for us automatically, which we can see if we were to run queries specifically on this here. And we can see that we're getting transactions coming in, we're getting tuples out, all these different things, which is really kind of cool to see. So we get this all running inside of our pgAdmin for us automatically. So it's all just up and running, all just with a few lines of code. So that makes it really, really easy to start scaffolding that out. Okay, so just like I added Postgres in there, there's Cosmos DB, there's SQL, there's a whole bunch of other database support that you can find inside the documentation. So I'll link to that below. Now, another one that we could add in, which I've added into the host project already, is my Redis Cache. Now, in the previous video, I showed you how you could automatically use the caching with Redis, but you could also use something like Garnet if you wanted to as well. You could use different images, you can create your own custom images, all these different things and add them in there. Now we can add a few different things. We have distributed caching, we have output caching. We could add that into our backend API if we wanted to, or in our front end. So let's go ahead and take a look at integrating that into our project. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is stop the running program, which would be great. And I'm gonna go back into my app host. Now from here, after my database is all set up, I'm gonna say var cache, And all I'm going to do is simply say builder dot add Redis. There we go. I'm just going to say cache. There we go. Perfect. Now on top of here, we could do all sorts of other things. We saw exporters, we see Redis commander, we see with all sorts of different things in here, images, all these different items in here. We're just going to use the default Redis. Now, just like we added our database here, we could add the reference here. So I could say with reference, I could add the cache to the back end, but let's go ahead and add it to the front end for now. I'm going to say with reference. I'm just going to say cache. So now our back end will know about our products DB, and our front end will know about our products service, and also the Redis cache that's over here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come into our store, and I'm going to say add, again, .NET Aspire package. Of course, you just add these manually if you want. And let's just tap in here and just say Redis and see what's available to us. So we have 3. We have the Redis, output caching, and distributed caching. So if you're interested in those, and you have a distributed cache, you go and add those in there. Let's just add the output caching in here. So I'm just going to add that package here, which again, will actually pull in the Redis one for us automatically as the default, but this will add this in there. Perfect. Now my program CS. Now all I'm going to do is just start adding this in. So over here, after I add the service defaults, I can say builder.add Redis output cache. So I have the client in here, I have the output cache in here. I'm going to use the output cache of cache. And again, this cache key is coming from the key here. So that is how those are being handled for you automatically. That's how the connections are being made. Okay, cool. So since we're having the application use output caching, let's say app.use output cache. Perfect. Awesome. The final thing I need to do is actually just use output caching. So just normal sort of things inside my application. So I'm going to go into the components, and here I have the products that are going on here. And if I wanted to, we could come in and say attribute and say output cache. I'll say duration of 5. I'll go ahead and make sure my output cache comes in here. There we go. Just normal output caching coming in, and duration of 5. There we go. So it's just 5 seconds. It'll cache it automatically. Okay, so we actually need to simulate this caching, which would be ideal too. So let's come into our products backend just so I can show you this here. I'm going to say endpoints. Okay, so instead of just returning a list, let's just go ahead and fake a random sale. So I'm going to say var random equals a new random here. And let's go ahead and get a new number, which will be random dot next double here. And this is going to be decimal instead of a double here. So I'm just going to cast this to a decimal. No, it's probably not best practice, but we're doing it. And then all I'm going to do is say var items equals, and I will say for each var item in items, let's just simply take the item dot price, and we're going to set it equal to item dot price times R there. Okay. And then I will return the items at the end of it. So ideally here, if I was to call this every single time, it's going to set it to a new price over and over and over again. But because we're using the output caching on the front end, it's going to sort of hold on to that cache for 5 seconds, not actually call it the back end, which is pretty great. Okay, cool. So we're going to get in, we get our dashboard coming up again. And now if I hit that product API here, we should see our product, which is some crazy decimal coming in, which is great. So just random numbers, super duper long, not the greatest demo, but you get the idea. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and go into our front end. And now over here, when I call products, we can see that if I hit this again, we're going to get the same exact numbers, 283 back every single time. Now, after 5 seconds, it's going to go ahead and automatically come in and hit it there, which is great. Now, what's cool is if I go into the traces, for example, we're going to see all of these different ones. So here we can see all the gets that are coming in and the caching that happened inside of here. So I've actually viewed at the detail level, we can see that nothing else is just happening here. If I look at the products here, we can see that the cache is getting hit directly in the browser link, which is really nice. And if I was to look at the full one here we go, the full details. This is where it's looking at the cache. It realizes that it's expired. We're going to hit the API, hits the database, comes back automatically for us. So we can see those hits the database and how long it took and everything like that, which is pretty awesome to see. All right, there you have it in just a few minutes, showing you how to integrate the .NET Aspire components for both Postgres and Redis caching into your application. Now there's tons more, like I said, so definitely browse through the documentation, but I want to show you how easy it is to add these components. Like if you're already using, Entity Framework, for example, or already using Redis output caching, to add these Aspire different components and have them all orchestrated together through service discovery is super duper simple, and you get those advanced tracing and telemetry all coming in. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. I got great feedback from all of you in my first video, and if you haven't watched it, definitely check it out. Put it up over there and down over there. But I got great comments. I try to answer as many as I could, and there's many, many more Aspire videos that you are reaching out and asking for, and this is the first in the series. I'll create a .NET Aspire playlist here, and I hope that you have enjoyed this one. So give it a thumbs up, jam that subscribe button for more .NET and .NET Aspire, of course, .NET MAUI goodness coming to you over the next several months. All right, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching.